This is Hannibal here with a very quick wrestling news update. Hulk Hogan once again is spewing his bullshit about running for president. He appeared on Fox to promote his new Real American beer and said he's thinking about running for president. We all remember back in the 90s, he went on Jay Leno and said he was running for president and got a lot of news and nothing came of it. This did get him in the news today, so he's smart enough to know that people are going to report on it if he says he's running for president. He's gone from telling kids to say their prayers and take their vitamins to he now has his own brand of weed and beer. Take that for what it's worth. As far as TNA news, Jeff Hardy, who was hardly used by AEW, I have to say, one of the best moments I can remember from AEW was when Matt and Jeff Hardy reunited on AEW. It went downhill from there to the point where Matt Hardy supposedly turned down an AEW contract that was probably a lot higher paying to go to TNA. And now I guess TNA is strangely having a pay-per-view tonight, the same night as a SmackDown taping and AEW Rampage. And Jeff Hardy is expected to debut. I guess his contract with AEW is up. We all know that Jordan Grace is expected to probably wrestle a WWE girl for the TNA title on this show. AJ Styles recently said he'd like to have another TNA match. I mean, all signs point to WWE probably taking over TNA sooner rather than later, or at least they're funding it. They're definitely running on the streaming service, but one interesting note is a few weeks ago, TNA fired a ton of their executives, and usually after they fire a ton of executive, it gets in the news on a bunch of executives being rehired. Doesn't that sound weird to all of you people? That they just fire all these executives and it's not announced who all the new people, like even their head of creative was released. So they're obviously working very closely with TNA. Ash by Elegance has debuted on NXT, another TNA person. Not that that many people care with how little interest there's been in TNA lately, but this is definitely good to at least get people talking about NXT and TNA, the crossover. But yeah, AEW blew it with Jeff Hardy. They've had him under contract. Matt Hardy publicly said months ago he was ready to return after Sammy Guevara landed on his face with something and broke his nose. Sammy Guevara, to my knowledge, hasn't returned since that incident, even though he's off suspension. And they just wasted Jeff Hardy the last 2 months. One of the best known people they have, legitimate Hall of Famer, and they've done nothing. I don't think Natty's going to AEW, Jay Miller. No, I don't think so. Hulk Hogan. Well, whatever. I'd still like to interview Hogan one day, and I think I will. NXT. I don't think. I don't know. They have like a $26 million contract to go on the CW network starting in the fall. I really don't know what the profitability is for NXT. I do know they have a big contract, and here's the thing with NXT on the CW network and the Netflix deal for WWE programming internationally, like Raw and SmackDown in Canada, the UK, India, all these places is going to be on Netflix. If they had a company like TNA that could fill the voids in a lot of these places, a lot of these TV stations, since NXT is already on CW. So maybe if they bought TNA, they could put TNA on better stations and access, which literally nobody's watching. They literally didn't crack a rating this week. They didn't even get a 0.01. I reported that in the Observer. I do think it's good. I think TNA is a dead product. But as I said, guys, just think about it. They fired a bunch of executives we never heard in the news about them being replaced with anyone. So there's something weird happening there. Piper's good. Grandma Daisy, I'm seeing her Sunday for Father's Day. Actually, Grandma Daisy, I'll show you a picture of Piper. She's been shaved. By the way, I'm doing an interview with David Tank Abbott, who is going to respond to Big John McCartney, who did a big podcast recently and spewed a bunch of bullshit about Tank. So Tank and I are going to go through this. Of course, Tank was recently on Joe Rogan. Here is Piper, Grandma Daisy, my beautiful 14 and a half year old pup, looking lean and mean as always, named after Roddy Piper. Jordan Gray, yeah, the other thing is, as Humble85 says, Jordan Grace received a louder reaction than Roxanne Perez when she went to NXT because it's more interesting. Like, I don't know anyone from NXT. I honestly don't know who Roxanne Perez is. So this is good. She's against a mystery opponent tonight for TNA. It's expected to be somebody from NXT, or who knows, it could even be Natty. Could even be Natty, who someone just asked about. Uh, but but yeah, the weird thing is, also for your point there, they're promoting Jordan Grace harder than they are a lot of their own talent. So that just goes to show you they have a vested interest in Jordan Grace. Dusty Rhodes Ghost 2024. Someone would rather have Hogan than Trump. I still have to watch Donald Trump on Logan Paul's podcast. No comment on Hogan. Hogan. I don't know if Hogan's ever had a real job. He was a musician, then a wrestler. He does operate a place now, but like he got royally screwed on his divorce with Linda. One thing that would question, like, he's a great politician, I'll admit that. One of the best politicians ever in wrestling. You have to be a top guy. Maybe that's why I suck at politics and wrestling. I speak my mind too much, and I'm not good at sucking up. Hogan is talented, but he was also known as being a great politician. But as far as could he lead, just look at the mess he had with Linda. That woman raked him over the coals. So that would be my hesitation of having Hogan rule anything. Someone says he's a great nanny. Yes, that's true, Mr. Nanny. Anyways, guys, tune in about 10 minutes from now. Tank Abbott, who was just on Joe Rogan, is going to do a live podcast right here. Last comment I'll put up says I'm not wrong. Does not like Hulk Hogan, says he's senile and demented. Hogan for Trump vice president. There you go. Have a great night. Watch the Tank Abbott thing.